Discover the incredible miraculous transformations in the book of Daniel, God's plan revealed. In the 3rd year of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came to Jerusalem and besieged it. The Lord delivered Jehoiakim into his hand, along with some of the vessels of the house of God. Among the captives were young men of Judah, without any physical defect, handsome, showing aptitude for every kind of learning. This was Daniel and his friends. They were to be trained in the language and literature of the Babylonians, steeped in a culture filled with idols and luxuries that enticed the heart away from Yahweh. As Daniel entered the palace of Nebuchadnezzar, the opulence overwhelmed him. The shimmering gold idols, tables laden with meat and wine, and the intoxicating aromas wafting through the air filled his senses. Yet amidst the luxurious display, a turmoil brewed in his heart. Memories of the sacred laws handed down by his ancestors echoed in his mind, reminding him that he was chosen to be a vessel for the honor of the one true God. How could he partake of food offered to idols without compromising his faith? In a moment of hushed prayer, Daniel resolved to propose a bold alternative. He would request to eat only vegetables and drink water for 10 days. Such an act could be regarded as treasonous in this foreign kingdom, yet the weight of his conviction propelled him forward. His heart united with the burden of his faith, he found courage. As the days unfurled, Daniel and his friends Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego stood firm. They consumed their humble diet, trusting that the God of Israel would sustain them. At the end of 10 days, they appeared healthier and better nourished than those who indulged in the royal delicacies. This was not merely dietary triumph, it was the divine testimony of their faithfulness, a living proof of God's provision and protection, but the trials were far from over. When King Nebuchadnezzar was gripped by a troubling dream, panic swept through his court. The king summoned his wise men, demanding not just an interpretation but the very recounting of the dream itself. Fear gripped the hearts of those around him, yet Daniel remained resolute. He called upon God, and the Lord revealed the dream and its meaning. Standing before the king, Daniel proclaimed the sovereignty of God over the kingdoms of men, declaring the rise and fall of empires. This profound revelation astonished Nebuchadnezzar and elevating Daniel further into favor, a blessing intertwined with greater risk. Before we continue with this incredible biblical account, I want to make sure you don't miss any of these powerful scripture stories. Click the bell icon and select all notifications. These biblical narratives have transformed countless lives throughout history. If God's word through this story is blessing you, please like and share with someone who needs to hear about God's faithfulness today. Tell me in the comments, which biblical story has most impacted your faith journey? I'm always amazed how God's word speaks to hearts across generations. Now let's continue with what the Lord did next, as a decree echoed through Babylon streets, compelling worship of the golden statue. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego refused to bow. The flames loomed ominously, a stark reminder of their impending fate. Nevertheless, they declared their trust, proclaiming that the God they served was able to deliver them. Bound and cast into the fiery furnace, the onlookers were unprepared for what came next. A fourth figure appeared in the flames, with the appearance of the Son of God, standing with them. These acts of divine deliverance resounded through the palace, igniting both awe and jealousy in the hearts of the officials. Soon, Daniel would face a trial of his own, as the jealousy of his peers turned the laws against him. Cast into a den of lions for his unwavering commitment to prayer, Daniel would soon find out what God had in store for him within the jaws of death, leaving the faithful to ponder how God's marvelous plan unfolds amidst the trials of exile. When the sun rose upon Babylon, a weighty decree had been set forth that would forever change the course of Daniel's life. The hearts of the officials pulsed with jealousy as they observed the favor granted to him by Nebuchadnezzar. They whispered treachery in the shadows, conspiring to entrap the faithful servant of God. Though Daniel thrived in wisdom and understanding, the envy of the wicked sought a way to bring him low. They approached the king with flattery, enticing him with painted words of admiration. "O king, live forever. Establish a decree that for 30 days, no man shall pray to any god or man except to you, O king. Whoever violates this decree shall be cast into the den of lions." Their hearts, filled with malice, were blind to the righteous path that Daniel walked, a path steeped in unwavering devotion to Yahweh. King Nebuchadnezzar, flattered by the accolades, consented to their request and sealed the decree with his signet ring. Unbeknownst to him, the trap was set not for the king's adversaries, but for the very man whom God had chosen to reveal divine mysteries. When Daniel learned of the written decree, his heart remained steadfast. He returned to his home, knelt by the window facing Jerusalem, and prayed, giving thanks to God just as he had done previously. His faith was unshaken, he sought communion with the Almighty despite the looming threat of death. 3 times a day, Daniel poured out his heart before God, interceding not only for his own life but for the people of Israel, whose distant land felt ever more like a memory fading into oblivion. As the sun dipped low in the sky, the conspirators spied on Daniel, and with glee, they rushed to the king to report the transgression. "O king, Daniel, who is of the exiles from Judah, pays no attention to you or the decree you have signed. He still prays 3 times a day." The king's countenance faltered, for he loved Daniel and was distressed. He had been deceived by those he trusted. Yet, the law of the Medes and Persians could not be revoked, and the king was bound by his own words. Daniel was dragged forth, his fate sealed within the jaws of despair, and the king reluctantly commanded that he be cast into the den of lions. As the stone was rolled over the mouth of the den, Nebuchadnezzar spoke, "May your God, whom you serve continually, deliver you." This declaration hung heavy in the air, a last cry of hope for the faithful servant as darkness enveloped the place of death. Night fell, and silence cloaked the city. The king returned to his palace, unable to eat or find solace in sleep. Meanwhile, in the den of lions, Daniel remained resolute, his heart unyielding to fear. He had faith that the God who delivered the 3 from the furnace would prove mighty again. As dawn broke, Nebuchadnezzar rose early and hastened to the den. With a trembling heart, he called out, "Daniel, servant of the living God, has your God whom you serve been able to deliver you from the lions?" A voice rang out from the shadows, "O king, live forever. My God has sent his angel, and he shut the lions' mouths. They have not hurt me, because I was found innocent before him." The king marveled, ordering Daniel to be lifted from the den, and he commanded that those who plotted against him be cast in. Thus, the testimony of God's faithfulness echoed throughout Babylon. Yet as Nebuchadnezzar issued a decree praising the God of Daniel, unbeknownst to all, a greater plan was unfolding. In the depths of the nations, hidden truths awaited revelation, and a vision loomed on the horizon, a vision that would unveil the dreams of empires, and the coming of the Anointed One, destined to transform the world. What might this divine revelation hold for the future of God's people? King Nebuchadnezzar, though awed by Daniel's deliverance, was burdened by questions that pierced his heart. As the news spread throughout the land, people gathered to witness the miraculous act of the God of Israel. The words of the king rang throughout Babylon, "I make a decree that in every dominion of my kingdom, men tremble and fear before the God of Daniel, for he is the living God and steadfast forever." Yet amidst this decree, Daniel found himself walking the corridors of the palace, held in honor, yet aware of the greater picture lurking beyond the walls. With a heart that longed to understand the mysteries that God might unveil, Daniel presented himself before the king. "O king, as you have acknowledged the greatness of my God, know that the visions of the night shall not cease. There are deeper matters yet to come, beyond this moment." With furrowed brows, Nebuchadnezzar beckoned Daniel closer, eager for insight. "Tell me, Daniel, what is it that your God shows you? What visions shall we behold?" Daniel, with humility and reverence, began to reveal the thoughts that had stirred within him. "O king, you saw in your dream a great statue, whose head was of gold, and whose chest and arms were of silver, whose belly and thighs were of bronze, and whose legs were iron, with feet partly of iron and partly clay. This represents the kingdoms that shall rise and fall. But know this, a stone was cut from a mountain without hands, and it shall strike the statue and fill the earth, not made by man, but by the divine." The eyes of Nebuchadnezzar grew wide with wonder, as Daniel spoke of kingdoms that were yet to come: Medes, Persians, Greeks, and Romans, each one a testament to human strength and folly, yet none capable of standing before the purposes of God. The king listened intently as Daniel proclaimed, "And in the days of those kings, the God of heaven will set up a kingdom that shall never be destroyed, nor shall its sovereignty be left to another people. it shall break in pieces all these kingdoms and bring them to an end, and it shall stand forever. In that moment, the weight of eternity pressed upon the hearts of those present. For what had begun as mere flattery had turned to prophetic insight, a foreshadowing of the coming deliverance for Israel, a restoration yet unseen. The dread of desolation was met with the promise of glory. But stirring within Daniel was a deeper urgency, a revelation yet to unfold. As he gazed out over the kingdom, he felt the tremors of future calamity and the sweet scent of redemption mingling in the air. His spirit cried out, "O Lord, what lies ahead for your people? What will unfold through the ages?" In the silence that followed Daniel's words, a whisper echoed in the chambers of heaven. It was the promise of a coming Messiah, a figure of suffering who would embrace the sins of many, tied to Daniel's prophetic vision. The very stone he spoke of represented the one who would be a light to the nations, who would bring hope to the captive and freedom to the bound. As the weight of God's counsel settled over the assembly, Daniel raised his hands, and a wave of peace flooded the room. Yet, even as the king pondered the revelation and proclaimed God's sovereignty, the shadows of uncertainty crept in, as the foundations of earthly kingdoms quaked beneath the authority of heaven. What more might God reveal through the unfolding tapestry of history? What trials awaited his people that would refine them like silver and gold? The hearts of many turned in anticipation, for a greater purpose was at hand, the time was drawing near for the echoes of prophecy to be fulfilled. Thus, with each revealed vision, the heart of Daniel affirmed God's sovereign plan was ever in motion, preparing the world for a display of grace that would surpass all understanding. The winds of divine destiny began to blow, stirring the hearts of men as they pondered the mysteries yet to be unveiled. As the days passed, Babylon thrummed with the echoes of awe. The decree of King Nebuchadnezzar reigned supreme, yet the heart of Daniel longed for deeper communion with the Lord. Each night, as darkness cloaked the kingdom, Daniel sought the face of God, yearning to unravel the visions that intertwined with God's purposes. One such night, as he sat by the window overlooking the sprawling city, the heavens opened before him. A profound silence enveloped him. Suddenly, the voice of the Lord filled the chamber, declaring, "Daniel, you are greatly beloved. The visions you seek will commence in the days of your forebears, but they will unfold in ways beyond your comprehension." With reverence, Daniel fell to his knees, overwhelmed by the majesty of God. "O Lord, reveal unto me the matters concerning my people, what fate awaits them in the distant days." And the Spirit of God moved upon him, unveiling the scroll of destiny, written with ink from eternity. "7 times shall the people of Israel be tried," spoke the voice like thunder, "and 7 times shall they rise, each time bringing forth a generation more refined than the last. For I shall dwell among them, even in the fire of their trials." Daniel trembled at the revelation. He contemplated the implications of such suffering, the hope that arose from anguish, and the faith required to endure. What strength would sustain a people yearning for deliverance? In that moment, a vision flashed before his eyes, a great river flowing from the throne of God, clear as crystal, signifying the life that would be granted to those who remain faithful. "Your people shall drink from this river," the voice continued, "and though they wander through darkness, they shall find the light. For I will send my messenger before you, a voice in the wilderness preparing the way." Eager to grasp the significance of this messenger, Daniel inquired, "Who is this figure, O Lord? Is he the fulfillment of the stone cut without hands?" The voice resonated with authority, "He shall herald my covenant and bring forth the new hope, for a Savior is coming to break the chains of bondage." The profound significance of this truth pressed heavily upon Daniel's heart. Meanwhile, news of the miraculous events surrounding Daniel had reached beyond the borders of Babylon, stirring the hearts of many. From afar, wise men and scholars pondered the meaning of these signs. What did the images of the kingdoms and the stone portend? They gathered together, deliberating, ready to unravel the threads of prophecy, seeking to know the fullness of God's plans. Nebuchadnezzar summoned his magicians and sorcerers. What of the dreams of Daniel? What of these visions? Can they tell us of our future? Will they remain steadfast before the onslaught of ages? In the depths of his heart, a lingering unease grew. The visions haunted him, and a question consumed his thoughts: could he confront the fate spoken of through Daniel? The people, drawn by the fire of expectation, gathered daily at the palace gates. They spoke in hushed tones of the prophecies revealed, their hearts an intricate tapestry of fear and hope. What if trials approach? What will be their outcome? In the silence that followed these thoughts, a whisper flowed through the crowd, a reminder that God held the strings of destiny firmly in his grasp. Through the ages of uncertainty, the hand of the Almighty would guide them, unyielding in his promises. Thus, as time marched onward, Daniel stood resolute in his faith, witnessing the caring gaze of God lingering upon the kingdom. Each revelation, each stone cast toward the mountains of human despair pointed to a divine purpose that began to unveil itself in the hearts of those who dared to believe, for amid the unfolding drama of history and the unity of kingdoms, the promise of a new and everlasting covenant echoed through the ages. What further wonders would unfold under heaven's watchful eye? What trials would test the resolve of a chosen people craving rescue and redemption? With every heartbeat, the anticipation of God's sovereign plan reached a crescendo, drawing Daniel and the multitude closer to the impending mysteries of divine grace waiting to be revealed. As the dawn broke over Babylon, illuminating the grand palaces and vibrant marketplaces, Daniel's heart remained heavy yet hopeful. He could sense an impending change, for the words of the Lord had ignited a divine fire within him. In the quietness of the morning, he found himself in prayer, beseeching God for further understanding of the visions and the fate of his beloved people. "O Lord," he cried out softly, "let not your wisdom be hidden from me. Reveal the mysteries of your design and guide me to speak truth unto those who seek your face." In heartfelt supplication, he recalled the scriptures that spoke of exile and restoration, for he understood that their covenant with God was both a blessing and an obligation. The voice of the Lord returned to him, gentle yet powerful, "Daniel, I have heard your prayers, and I know the desires of your heart. For my people shall not be forsaken, rather, they shall be tested as gold is refined in the fire. The seventh generation shall herald the culmination of my promise, as I will gather them from the ends of the earth." With this assurance, a vision pierced his spirit. A colossal statue stood before him, its head of gold, arms and chest of silver, belly and thighs of bronze, and legs of iron, culminating in feet of a mixture of iron and clay. The grandeur of the image was overwhelming, and yet Daniel understood it symbolized the kingdoms of man, frail and transient in contrast to the eternal reign of God. The head of gold signifies the dominion of Babylon, the Lord clarified, but even this will give way to the next kingdom, and thus the ages shall unfold. "Fear not, for the stone cut without hands shall shatter them all, and the kingdom of God shall reign forever." Daniel's spirit surged at the unfolding revelation. "But, O Lord, how will these things be? Who shall stand against the trials of time?" His heart trembled with both fear and joy, for he now bore the weight of prophecy upon his shoulders. The Lord spoke once more, "I shall raise up a remnant strong yet humble. They will endure the trials set before them, and through their faithfulness, the nations shall know that I am God. Look towards the horizon, you will see a messenger of my covenant, confirming my unfailing love." In that moment, the scripture from Jeremiah resonated within him, "I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." This promise fueled Daniel's resolve, kindling the embers of hope within his heart. Meanwhile, in the courts of Babylon, Nebuchadnezzar convened an assembly of wise men, seeking counsel regarding the troubling dreams that haunted him. "Listen well," he proclaimed with authority, his voice echoing through the chamber, "for the dreams of Daniel may be the key to our understanding. Bring forth the men skilled in interpretation." The magicians and enchanters trembled, for they could sense the weight of expectation. "What if he speaks of that which we cannot comprehend?" They whispered among themselves, fear coiling around their hearts. As time flowed onward, the horizon pulsated with both apprehension and anticipation. The people of Babylon began to talk of change, a shift that would neither stir merely politics nor power, but something deeper, a spiritual awakening they did not fully fathom. And thus, Daniel stood at the crossroads of prophecy and reality, aware that his faith would be tested in ways he had yet to imagine. The stage was being set for God's divine plan, and the winds of change were stirring through the hearts of the waiting multitudes. What would be the fate of the kingdoms of men in this great unfolding drama? Would the faithful rise with courage when the darkness encroached? As Daniel gazed into the vast expanse, he understood, God's plan was far-reaching, encompassing the very essence of redemption itself. In that moment of clarity, a deeper mystery echoed within his spirit, whispering of the coming deliverance. For in the stillness of the waiting hearts was the promise of transformation, and what they could not yet see was but a glimpse of an eternal truth. God's sovereign hand was poised to reshape the world. What revelation would the coming days reveal, and how would the faithful respond to his beckoning call? As the sun rose higher, casting its golden rays upon the city of Babylon, the tension within the royal court thickened like the haze of smoke from the burning incense. King Nebuchadnezzar, tormented by dreams that fluttered through the night like restless spirits, paced the marbled floors of his palace, frustration etched across his brow. The wise men of Babylon had gathered, their hearts burdened with doubt, for none could unveil the cryptic visions that haunted their sovereign. "Bring forth Daniel," the king commanded with an edge of impatience, his voice slicing through the air. "This man has been singularly blessed with understanding. He shall interpret the very things that cause my soul to tremble." As Daniel approached the king's throne, the atmosphere crackled with anticipation and fear. The eyes of the assembly fell upon him, whispering unspoken words of hope and dread. He understood that the fate of many lay heavy upon his shoulders, but he walked forward with the confidence that stemmed from his trust in God. "O king," he began, his voice steady, "the God of heaven has granted dreams to you not only for your sake but for the sake of the nations. His intent is to reveal deep mysteries that pertain to the future." With clarity, Nebuchadnezzar described his dream: a magnificent statue whose head was of gold, chest and arms of silver, belly and thighs of bronze, and legs of iron, ending in feet of both iron and clay. The king's eyes glimmered with a mixture of fear and yearning. Daniel took a breath, feeling the weight of the prophetic message stirring within him. "O king, you are that head of gold. Your kingdom is the greatest of all, but it shall not last. For after you will come another kingdom, inferior, and then following that, a third which shall rule the earth, and finally a fourth, strong like iron, that will crush and shatter all others. But behold, the feet, mingling iron and clay, signifies a divided kingdom wherein some will be strong and others weak." The assembly gasped at the revelation. Daniel paused, letting the gravity of the interpretation settle upon the room. "Yet, in the days of those kings, the God of heaven shall set up a kingdom that will never be destroyed. It will break in pieces all these kingdoms and bring them to an end, and it shall stand forever." King Nebuchadnezzar's countenance shifted from fear to awe as he inhaled the breath of this truth. "Truly your God is the God of gods and Lord of kings, a revealer of mysteries," he exclaimed, bowing before Daniel, recognition dawning upon him. "You shall be elevated, and your friends along with you." Yet, within Daniel's heart, a simple prayer echoed silently: "O God, let them see that this is not by my own doing but by your sovereign hand." For Daniel knew that the divine mystery before him was not merely an interpretation but a glimpse into God's unwavering plan for his people. Days turned into weeks as Daniel, now favored in the courts, navigated the complexities of Babylonian life. He remained steadfast in prayer, seeking further wisdom, and interceding for his people, their plight a constant burden upon his soul. It was then that he began to hear whispers of plots against the faithful, as jealousy brewed within the hearts of those once regarded as wise. As he searched the scriptures, comparing prophecies and seeking guidance, the words of Isaiah flooded his mind: "Behold, I am doing a new thing, now it springs forth, do you not perceive it? I will make a way in the wilderness and rivers in the desert." With certainty, Daniel knew that these trials would serve a greater purpose, reminding him of God's faithfulness to the covenant. What was to come was a trial of faith for God's remnant, a crucible to refine, to prepare for the fulfillment of the promises spoken long ago. In the midst of uncertainty, a vision shimmered before his eyes, a messenger bearing the seal of God's covenant, journeying towards him. With growing urgency, Daniel understood that more than mere interpretation awaited him. A revelation was at hand, one that would intertwine the destinies of nations and reaffirm God's mighty sovereignty. What awaited in the shadows of this new unfolding? Would the faithful remain resolute amidst the rising tide of opposition? Although the future loomed uncertain, one truth remained unwavering: God's plan was glorious, and the dawn of redemption was drawing near. As dawn broke once more over Babylon, the city stirred with a fresh promise, yet a heavy cloud of treachery loomed within the court. The wise men, whose wisdom was now sullied by indignation and fear, began to conspire against Daniel. Their hearts, filled with envy as they were, could not bear to see a foreigner exalted by the king. "Let us find a way to rid ourselves of this Daniel," they whispered among themselves. "For his God has bestowed upon him a favor that we cannot comprehend, and this must be stopped before it threatens our own status in this kingdom." Thus, they devised a cunning plot. They approached King Nebuchadnezzar with flattering words, manipulating his pride and allure for grandeur. "O king," they began, "let your decree be established, that for the next 30 days, anyone who makes a petition to any god or man except you shall be cast into the den of lions." The king, swayed by their eloquence and the shimmering allure of his own image, issued the decree, sealing it with his signet ring. Unbeknownst to him, he unwittingly placed himself at odds with the one who holds the heart of kings in his hand. When Daniel learned of the king's decree, his response was neither panic nor dismay. Instead, he resolved to maintain his communion with the Lord, as was his custom since his youth. He went to his chamber, opened the windows toward Jerusalem, and prayed 3 times a day, offering thanksgivings to his God with the same fervor as before. As the conspirators caught wind of his actions, they rushed to the king, gloating as they reported, "O king, Daniel, who is of the exiles from Judah, pays no attention to you or your decree, but continues to make his petition 3 times a day." The king's heart sank as he realized the implications of his own decree. Though greatly distressed, he could not alter his command. It grieved him, knowing his cherished Daniel faced death. Even so, as the sun set and the moon rose, the time drew near for the fulfillment of justice. When the inevitable hour arrived, Daniel was taken, his heart steady in the knowledge of his God. The king, too, was filled with anguish as he ordered the young man to be cast into the den of lions. "May your God, whom you serve continually, deliver you," he cried, a trace of desperation lacing his tone. Daniel was lowered into the den, and a stone was placed over the mouth of the cave. The king sealed it with his own signet ring, attempting to safeguard the fate of the faithful servant. Alas, he returned to his palace, unable to sleep, his spirit burdened by the thoughts of Daniel's plight. As the night enveloped the kingdom, Daniel found himself in a desperate place, yet he embraced the darkness with a heart of steadfast faith. Unseen by the human eye, he was not alone. The God whom he served sent his angel to shut the mouths of the lions, turning their ferocity into peace, for divine presence enveloped Daniel, granting assurance amidst peril. Morning broke, filled with hope and the promise of deliverance, as the king rushed to the den, calling, "Daniel, servant of the living God, has your God, whom you serve continually, been able to deliver you from the lions?" With a voice reverberating through the stillness, Daniel answered, "O king, live forever. My God sent his angel and shut the lions' mouths. They have not harmed me, for I was found blameless before him." The king's heart rejoiced, and he commanded that Daniel be lifted from the den. In that moment, the truth of God's power was displayed mightily before all the kingdom. As the king turned to the conspirators, he decreed that they, along with their families, be cast into the same den. Their wickedness met with swift justice. In his heart, Daniel understood that God's purposes were unfathomable, yet his faith fortified by divine intervention reflected the promise of the ages, and amidst the chaos and fear, a new decree echoed through Babylon, proclaiming the greatness of the true God, whose kingdom shall never be destroyed, for the time had come for his faithful servant to reveal a greater message, a message of hope and sovereignty that would endure through all generations. What new revelations awaited beyond this moment of divine rescue? The story was only beginning to unfold, for the heart of God beats for his people still. As the sun ascended fully over Babylon, the king marveled at the salvation of Daniel, yet the echoes of the new decree resonated profoundly within his spirit. To all peoples, nations, and languages that dwell in all the earth, peace be multiplied to you. It is my command that in all my royal dominion men tremble and fear before the God of Daniel. As the words left his mouth, the hearts of the people pulsated with a mixture of wonder and reverence. For the king had witnessed the might of Daniel's God, and the story of the miraculous deliverance began to spread like wildfire through the city. And Daniel, restored to his position, returned to his duties, yet the veil of divine mystery surrounding his life thickened, for God was not finished revealing his purpose. As he resumed his tasks, he pondered the dream of Nebuchadnezzar and the vision bestowed upon him in days gone by. Each revelation carried a weight, unseen by worldly eyes but heavy with heavenly meaning. In solemn reflection, Daniel withdrew to his chamber once more, removing himself from the distractions of the court. He sought the Lord in prayer, laying out the matters of his heart. "O Lord," he cried, "give me understanding of the visions that perplex my spirit, for they reveal the end times yet to come." And as he prayed, the heavens leaned near, undulating with the breath of the Almighty. The angel Gabriel, swift and radiant, appeared before him, declaring, "Daniel, greatly beloved, consider the words I speak. The secrets of the Most High are unfolding even now, for your people and your holy city are marked for redemption and trials yet to arise." With each word spoken, Daniel's heart raced, for he knew the weight of heavenly messages often set forth seasons of both trial and triumph. Gabriel continued, 70 weeks are determined for your people and for the holy city, to finish the transgression, to make an end of sins, and to make reconciliation for iniquity. It is for the unveiling of everlasting righteousness, and to anoint the most holy. Such mysteries, laden with foreboding yet infused with promise, captivated Daniel's spirit. "How can these things be?" he implored, eyes alight with urgency. "What of the kingdom we serve? Will it endure, and how shall your plans be fulfilled?" Gabriel's countenance glimmered with divine assurance. "These decrees have been established." He raised his hand, promising, "Fear not, for your God shall guide his people until his kingdom is fully restored." Even now, amid trials, there is a remnant preserved, for all that transpires leads to the fruition of a greater covenant. Upon hearing these truths, Daniel felt the burden and joy intertwine, as an awareness of history both past and future flooded his heart. It would not merely be the story of one exile triumphing over lions but a narrative interwoven with divine sovereignty, prevailing hope, and the unfurling of God's eternal purpose. As dawn broke over Babylon again, a bold new chapter unfurled, a story threaded with prophetic dimensions. The decree of the king proclaiming the greatness of the God of Daniel would echo through the ages, heralding that even within worldly empires and their decrees, God's providence remains unchallenged. Yet, as Daniel emerged from this encounter, he understood, greater shadows loomed ahead, for the days of trial were not yet complete. With each revelation, the tapestry of God's kingdom drew nearer, a glorious crescendo awaiting an appointed hour, a moment when the divine order would collide with humanity's strife, ushering in the ultimate sovereign fulfillment. What unforeseen revelations lay within those prophetic weeks? How might they affect the lineage of faith and the world yet to come? The answers lingered, enticing and profound, just beyond the horizon of time. In the days that followed, as the sun shifted across the vast Babylonian sky, Daniel found himself stirred by the visions that had been bestowed upon him. Each night, when sleep took hold, dreams beckoned him, unfurling scenes drenched in divine significance. He was compelled, for the understanding of what lay ahead was as pressing as the air he breathed. One evening, he laid before the Lord, his face to the ground, beseeching the Almighty. "O Lord," he intoned, "you are great and mighty, but the knowledge of ages past and what is yet to come weighs heavily upon my heart. What shall be the fate of your people? What shall become of the promise given to Abraham?" As he prayed, the room ignited with a celestial light, and the angel Gabriel appeared once more. His presence radiated peace, allowing Daniel a moment to gather his thoughts. "Fret not, Daniel," Gabriel spoke, his voice a soothing balm amid turbulence. "For the vision you seek to comprehend is not for this age alone, it transcends to generations yet unseen. Tell me, O messenger from on high, what shall unfold?" Daniel implored, rising from his prostration in childlike hunger for revelation. The angel unfurled a scroll, and as its parchment glimmered, he spoke, "From the time the command goes forth to restore and build Jerusalem until the Anointed One, there shall be 7 weeks and 62 weeks. The streets shall be built again, and the wall, even in troublesome times. Daniel listened intently, his spirit resonated with the truth of these words. Yet, as Gabriel continued, a weight settled over him, and after the 62 weeks, the Anointed One shall be cut off, but not for himself, and the people of the Prince who is to come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary. The end of it shall be with a flood, and till the end of the war, desolations are determined. Confusion and sorrow filled Daniel's heart. O Lord, how can this be? The suffering of the one foretold is beyond my understanding, yet your plan is perfect, woven into the very fabric of time. Gabriel remained steadfast, drawing near to Daniel's troubled heart. Indeed, beloved of God, you must know that his ways are higher than our ways. Though the path may be shrouded in sorrow, it leads ultimately to a new creation, a covenant that holds eternal promise. Awash with emotion, Daniel saw visions of the future, of trials leading to triumph, and a kingdom that would not know decay. He caught glimpses of the redeemed, gathered in joyous praise. What of the remnant, Lord? In this unfolding narrative, shall we know deliverance? Gabriel replied, the remnant shall endure and shall rise. The time of testing shall yield the fruit of righteousness. Those who endure to the end shall be saved. The vision you see is full of hope, rooted in God's unchanging nature. With the weight of such revelations, Daniel's spirit ignited with a profound hope. Even amid trials and tribulations, the Almighty's hand moved silently over the canvas of history, leading towards the glorification of the Anointed One. The fulfillment of the covenant would not be thwarted. As the shadows lengthened, Daniel returned to his chamber filled with awe, yet burdened with thoughts of the future. What more must we endure, O Lord? What will be the sign of the coming of the glory? As he pondered, silence enveloped him. For within the stillness, he sensed the heartbeat of divine purpose, a rhythm that promised a culmination far beyond his understanding. What further revelations lay just beyond this horizon? Would the gospel of grace echo through time as God orchestrated history's events? The unfolding tapestry beckoned, hinting at the promise of the kingdom yet to come. And with a heart full of questions, Daniel waited for the unfolding of divine truth woven into the hearts of men and the world at large. As the dawn painted the skies above Babylon with hues of gold, a solemn peace enveloped the city, yet Daniel stood on the precipice of deeper revelations. The king, though astonished and humbled by Daniel's deliverance, was unaware of the greater narrative that God was weaving, a narrative that would redefine the destinies of kingdoms and people. In the heart of Babylon, the cries for justice and the longing for hope resonated among the nations. Daniel, now favored yet burdened by the weight of prophetic truth, sought refuge in prayer more deeply than ever before. He knelt, burdens laid bare before the Almighty, and whispered, O Lord, what is the end of these matters? What will become of your people? And the heavens responded with a powerful stillness, as the Spirit stirred within him, affirming his faithful persistence. Then the voice of God echoed through the silence, Daniel, rise to your feet. The time of fulfillment draws near. The trials of your people shall serve as the forge of destiny. As these words penetrated his spirit, he saw a vision unfold, a glorious kingdom descending, brighter than the noonday sun, destined to reign forever. It was a kingdom that echoed the heart of God, a testament to his unwavering promises. Fear not, for I am sovereign, the Lord assured him. I shall inspire the hearts of evangelists, and through trials, the faith of my remnant shall become a beacon. They will rise as witnesses, and their endurance shall proclaim my glory. My covenant shall not falter, hope lies at the end of the veil. Upon hearing this, Daniel felt the cords of despair loosen, a newfound strength surged in him. With clarity, he saw the connectivity of history, the fusion of heaven and earth, divine intervention igniting the heart of humanity. He understood that the trials ahead, though daunting, were but brief shadows compared to the radiance of God's eternal light. As days turned into months, Daniel's position remained secure in the king's court, yet the murmurs of a looming darkness grew. The conspirators plotted a vigilance rising against the faithful. Yet within this unrest, God's plan rippled silently beneath the surface, unseen yet powerful. Then, during a royal assembly, the king proclaimed, "Let all men acknowledge the God of Daniel." For he is indeed the living God, steadfast and able to deliver. And as those words echoed, a flicker of hope ignited in the hearts of the exiles. The officials, enraged by the king's proclamation, set their trap anew. Intent on snuffing out the light of faith, they seized Daniel's companions Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, casting them into the furnace of fire for their refusal to bow. Yet, in that moment of trial, the very presence of God encased them, and they emerged unscathed. Their deliverance was a prelude, a sign to an expectant world of the chains that would be broken, the hearts that would be turned. Who is this God? The people pondered anew, and through each miraculous act, the foundations of faith strengthened. Memory of Daniel's triumph over lions and fiery trials became tales of hope and salvation. Lastly, the imperial decree shifted the tide of belief throughout Babylon. From the lowest clay to the highest throne, God awoke the spirit of understanding. His sovereignty, once hidden beneath fear and darkness, illuminated the hearts and minds of many. People from every corner gathered to witness the faith of the God of Daniel, a God of unyielding promises and redemptive grace. As praise bubbled forth in the streets, Daniel raised his hands in thankful worship. Praise be to the Lord, for his faithfulness endures. He has demonstrated his love through trials and will continue to reveal himself to those who seek him earnestly. And in this awaited moment, as the echoes of faith reverberated throughout the land, Daniel understood the mystery of God's plan, the divine unfolding of history, a story contrasted with trials yet filled with inexhaustible hope. Ultimately, God's sovereignty was not only a promise of future restoration but a call to every soul to awaken to his might, to acknowledge him amid trials and triumphs, and to follow the great path towards the Anointed One, destined to bless all nations, a promise reigniting the hearts of every believer. Arise, O Church of Christ, for the hour of awakening draws near. Our call today resonates across the ages. Dive deeper into faith, immerse yourself in the love of God. Witness firsthand how His Word transforms the hearts of those who seek Him truly. Subscribe immediately to catch these vital biblical revelations and powerful stories that ignites faith. Leave a like now to help spread God's Word through the algorithm, amplifying the truth that changes lives everywhere. Comment with your reflections on how this retelling of Daniel has transformed your spiritual walk. Share instantly this message with at least 5 friends who need to hear of God's truth. The time is now to connect hearts to the Lord. Don't wait even one more second. Your actions can ripple into eternity for souls yearning for Him.